Coach, whenever you're ready.
Yep. Thank y'all for coming today. We're sitting at a point right now in our season where we're 1-3 and backs against the wall, and another opportunity this week going into a Thursday night game against South Alabama. Looking forward to getting back on the field and seeing how much we can improve.
Coach.
Coach, you've had some time to evaluate, go over things. Have you been able to figure out anything in particular that you feel like you guys can maybe address this week before going to South Alabama?
Most certainly. On offense, as you watch the tape, you start to see a little bit more of the run starting to develop, but between the first half and the second half. But again, we're still hurting ourselves in the red zone. We're not scoring enough points, so we need to put a heavy emphasis on that. We've got to continue to work on our snaps. We had 46 yards lost between 3 sacks and 3 bad snaps. So that's definitely something that we're continuing to work on and try to make sure we get better there. And then the finish piece, getting outscored in the fourth quarter is definitely not what Georgia Southern football needs to be. On defense, we have a lot of missed tackles. We have a lot of situations where we didn't get adjusted to their formations and didn't set the edge well and be able to fit it well once we didn't set the edge. And then too many yards after contact, not wrapping up, making sure that we got the ball carriers down and got outrushed in the ball game. So again, we got to work on our run defense and make sure that we are establishing a run on offense and shutting it down on defense and finishing a football game.
Coach, what's the mood like in the locker room the last 2 days? Obviously, 1-3 is not the start anybody wanted. You mentioned backs against the wall. How is the team feeling that you've seen over the last couple days?
I think they're in a positive mindset. I do not think they're discouraged at all. We talked a lot about, this is where your character comes into play. This is where, when we talk about being a Georgia Southern man and we talk about all the different things from core values to identity and all the different things that we talk about, it's easy to do those things when you're winning. It's what are you going to do when you are 1-3, and it's time to respond and you show your true character. So they've done a good job. They were very attentive in meetings yesterday, wanting to get better, and then they did a really good job at practice last night as far as coming out with energy and going to work.
Coach, just switching gears to South Alabama, who on the offensive side of the ball and defensive side of the ball do you look at as the people who are the biggest threat?
Well, when you start watching South Alabama's offense, they play 2 quarterbacks, and probably 30 to 35% of their offensive production comes from the running back, Trey Minner, and he's a guy that and they try to establish the run. They're going to run gap scheme stuff and do a little bit of option off of it, give you different types of motions, try to give you different formation sets to try to get an advantage on you. But their guy is the running back, and he's really good, and so he's a guy that we definitely have to stop. And the receiver, number 15 on the outside there, he's a big playmaker for them also. On defense, they've kind of switched from a 4-man front from last year now to a 3-4 front. And, you start to see their defensive line. They do a good job of penetrating, try to establish the line of scrimmage, behind the line of scrimmage. And then also, too, their secondary has been really good at getting interceptions. So, again, we got to go to work this week, and we just got to make sure that we're ready to play, because each and every week in the Sun Belt, you got to come ready to play.
Coach, you just talked about each and every week having to be ready to play in the Sun Belt. Obviously, the record not where you want it to be. Is there any discussion about, how imperative it is that you get it turned around quick? Because with the way the conference is set up, I know you've got some season goals, and the way the conference is set up, it just is going to make it that much harder to attain those if the wins don't start.
Yeah, we're not really talking about season goals right now. We're talking about one game, and that's the way we do it anyway. Obviously, we're going to set season goals before we start and say this is what we're going to try to accomplish this year. But it being at 1-3, it's about one game at a time, truly, and that's where we're going to be at, for this week. But once you start looking at the conference, I mean, if you look at the Sun Belt East, everybody's 0-1 except App. And so this is an important game because this, can get you back into that race. But, again, we're not going to be talking about conference championships until we can string some W's together.
Coach, how will Wesley Kennedy's return affect the team?
I think that this is big for us. One, he's a guy that's got a lot of juice, and he's a guy that's a playmaker for us and has shown that his first 2 years with us here. Obviously, our team is excited that he's back, and today's his birthday, so this will be his birthday present. He can play Thursday night. So,
you mentioned earlier about South Alabama using two quarterbacks, pretty evenly. Justin Tomlin playing 2 games, and then Shai returning on Saturday. Has there been any thought of using Tomlin on the offense and kind of still letting him see the field a bit?
Well, obviously, Justin's now gotten some serious experience being able to play, but also, too, before we played this last game, Shai had only played 17 snaps on the season. And so, when we got him into the game last week, it's almost like starting over, and so I think it's important that we get Shai going, and Shai's a starter, so we're going to play him. Right now there's no talk of playing both of them.
Coach, last year you come in, great season. The fan base is excited. Everything around you is positive and exciting, and you win the bowl game. And this year you come out and it's 1-3, and you've got a lot of people. You've been around Georgia Southern enough to know how things go when they start to go bad. How have you been able to deal with what's been going on recently, along with how the team is faring?
Well, we could sit here and say that you don't listen to the noise, but that's not realistic. We have to be on social media because of recruiting. We have to pay attention to what's going on. But just like I said with our players, you got to be the same person day in and day out, and that's something that's important to me. I'm not perfect. I screw up all the time, and I make mistakes, but I'm going to be the same person. If it's going great, if it's going bad, I've got my core values. I got my faith, and I'm going to stand by that, and I'm going to continue to do the things that I believe are right. And so I love what Georgia Southern's about. I love the fact that fans are so into it and so fanatical about it, and because they feel like they're a part of everything we do, and that's what makes Georgia Southern great, having such a fan base that's so passionate about what we do. And I'm not happy about being 1-3 either, and so we're taking a real long, hard look at ourselves, self-scouting ourselves, trying to figure out how we can get better, because we do want to give the people a great product on the field, and we're working our butts off to do that. But I'm not going to change. I'm going to be the same guy, and I hope people will say that about me. I hope they'll say that he's no different when the times are great, and he's no different when times are tough. He's still going to be the same guy.
Coach, you mentioned the bad snaps, and they came up again in this game. When you look to correct that, is that a personnel change? How do you go about making sure that those are corrected? Well,
a lot of what has happened with that, our starting center, Jake Cooper, he in the main game got his hand hurt, and so we had to put in our backup center, so we had to move Aaron Dowdell from guard to center. And when you're not consistently the center, that's something you got to work at and you got to grow at. And then we lost Jake Cooper's services for last game and this game because of a concussion, and so we're working through that. We're working Aaron Dowdell and we're working Peyton Backer right now. They are getting better at it. Are we perfect? No, and that's something that we just got to continue to get out there and make sure that we're repping over and over again. But we are working at it, and I expect it to continue to get better. I don't expect it to get worse.
Coach, I think so often in the NFL you hear about these Thursday night games and having a full week to recover. The team will be doing it twice this year, but what kind of challenge does it present going from Saturday to Thursday turnaround and add in a travel day having to be on the road?
Well, especially coming off a physical game, when you got two teams that like to run the football, you know, that wears and tears on your guys. And for us to play on Saturday and then turn around and you know, travel for a Thursday night game, that doesn't allow for us to recover like we would in a normal week. So we've been very mindful about that. Last night we went in what we call our spider pads. Today will be our only day that we'll go in shoulder pads. Tomorrow will actually be a walkthrough, and then Wednesday we'll run around a little bit with our spider pads again. And we're going to be mindful of the time period, how long we'll go. We're not getting them up early this week. Normally we'll have early morning lifts on Tuesday, but we're not doing that. We're going to try to get them a little bit more rest and, you know, just try to catch up like we can.
California today passed the pay-for-play, you know, or the paying the players beginning in 2023. What are your thoughts on players' payment on a collegiate level? You
know, I haven't put a lot of thought into it. I did see that. You know, when you start talking about student athletes and you start talking about the different things that go on with it, obviously college football is a big business. College sports is a big business, and you know, if a young man is generating that type of money for university, I'm fully for people looking at it and going, you know what, we can work these things into this, and whatever's best for the student athlete, I'm for. But I don't want to lose the integrity of an amateur sport also, you know. And so I think the further this thing goes, I think you just got to make sure that it's working on both sides, you know, not turning it into a professional thing and still keeping that college atmosphere.